That was in 2019. That's when I left Western and got on that plane. Started going to the temple over there, and they were doing. See, all right. So one of the guys that the members had introduced himself, he was like, he straight up told me. He said, "I'm a 33rd degree." As he said Freemason. I don't call them Freemasons, but he said he was a 33rd degree Freemason. And that's the highest you can go. And, well, so far as I know, I don't. They probably got some little degrees for Satan or some shit. But Satan might have an infinity degree. But he said he also was like, did he say he was an engineer? I don't know, one of them. Engineer or inventor. Something like that. So him and his wife, they were like, his name was Boondele. Yeah, Boondele. And, yo, how did I forget his wife's name? Boondele and... Anyway, I forget his name, but it is important because names say a lot about people. If you hear somebody with a name like Boondele, you're going to be like, what? You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's interesting. He must be into some weird shit. Not weird, but he must be into some serious stuff. And a name like Boondele. So, all right. I just processed that information. That was it. I didn't judge it because I was never really been familiar with Masons like that. This was my first visit at the temple. You know, when you just like meeting people, meet and greet and stuff. All right, so the second guy that I met in the temple, he introduced himself as a magi and told me that he was a part of some secret society they're called the Rosicrucians. It's something like that, Rosicrucians. This is what they practice, or it's a secret society, pretty much. So, yeah, this dude he's to call himself a magi. Now, a magi is just a magician.
Yeah.
He's also calling himself a voodoo. He's also, what was his name? I think he's a voodoo priest too. Right. All right. So he's a voodoo priest. But again, the introduction is everything. He introduced himself as hi, I'm a magi. Like, who does this ish in 2026?
Like, was that those dudes that you showed me on that picture?
Nah. Not even them. They're fairly low ranking. They're not into like masonry or anything like that. But all right, so now we meet a voodoo priest, and he had like a box of animals that he was going to sacrifice.
A box of them.
He brought a small box of chickens that he was going to sacrifice. So I'm like, yo, what the am I getting myself into?
Chickens.
Chickens.
I'm skeptical about you.
But see, look. At this time, this is 2019.
Yeah.
I'm not even Moorish American yet. I didn't even proclaim my nationality yet. So I'm just trying to, expand into more truth. That's it at this point. So I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? Because this was, when I contacted the Moor, this was supposed to be just a Moorish Science Temple of America. Now I sit up here, meeting 33 degree. These are members, faithful members
Oh, the temple.
of the Morris Science Temple of America in New Jersey. So, and the voodoo priest is there. He's a part of the Rosicrucians. And he a whole voodoo priest. I'm talking about he goes to people's homes and does real voodoo work. Real voodoo work. And again, like I said, he had the animals, so.
I think you told me about that shit in Birmingham.
What did I say about it?
You or something like that.
Well, they had a war. It was basically when I got there, they were trying to have some type of war over who would claim to be with me. Pretty much, that's what they was doing.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about that. That's not even the topic of this discussion. Is what I'm saying is, let me see who else was in there. All right. So his wife, Bundale's wife, oh my gosh, you may be scared of her because she was like one of those root women, like one of those, kind of like one of those witch doctors, because she would make these crazy, like, they're like wands, but they would be made of, some would have hair, be made of hair. Some would have like, they would have different crystals on them. They would have like different, like sacred items and objects and stuff like that. And she was making all these things from scratch. She was the wife of the Mason. All right, boom. I don't know nothing. I'm innocent, right? I'm just going in there, just wanting to proclaim my nationality. Cause when I was on Western, when I was on the truck, all I was doing, I started just watching a bunch of videos on proclaiming my nationality. So I'm like, I really, really wanted to do it, and I wanted to like meet a Moor that could give me information on, all right, how do I proclaim my nationality? Boom, I'm on a truck on Western, and we had an orientation. I think it was like an orientation or something, but
Western?
Right, one of the employees for Western, he was a truck driver. He was also a Moorish American. Right at the time that I started watching all those videos and finding out about, you can proclaim your nationality, and I just started just researching a bunch of stuff, and I'm like, I'm doing it. I was already like, I'm doing it. It wasn't nothing stopping me. So I was just like, I just need to get some information, like, how do I meet up more? Because I know I can find a good temple and do it there if I can find them more or whatever. So I ended up meeting him more. He wasn't driving with no plates or nothing like that, and he was just giving me information and stuff like that. He never went to a temple or anything like that, so I didn't get to go to the temple in California because I was in California at the time. So once I caught the plane to Jersey, quit in Western in 2019. Now in 2019, that's when I proclaimed my nationality and went to the temple right at that event. And just meeting, that is where I started to see, like, this stuff is really no joke. I started to see the supernatural. The supernatural is real. I started to see my supernatural protection because I told you I was just getting into it. So come to find out, they doing all types of Mason rituals on me, and they like doing all this wicked, crazy ass shit. And I ended up finding out through another Moor. And I knew, I was knowing some of the stuff was sketchy. Like, the one thing that I felt that they was using was my fingerprint, because I had to give them my fingerprint on the proclamation.
Yeah.
Not in blood, but you had to give it in red ink. I don't know what that red ink signifies.
Probably blood.
That's probably. It probably actually does. But I don't know if that's standard for all proclamations or whatever, but besides that, they were using that contract because you become a member of the temple. That's standard. And according to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, you just pay your member dues or whatever, and it's just, that's to uplift humanity or whatever. So you become a member of this temple, but at the same time, contracts are contracts. And see, these are high-level jinn that deal with Moors. And a contract is a contract. And if you come up in there with like all right, a lot of them, they can see everything. They can see spiritually. They're your wise men at these temples. They are, because they practice the same thing that Hollywood uses to basically run the world. They got that from more science. They got that from Islam. They got that from the great God, is what I'm saying. So they on it. When you're talking about knowledge, it's fluid. You got Masons and Moorish Science Temples of America, because they're the original Masons. Moors are the original Masons, the original master builders of building higher self. Well, basically building your higher self, your divine self, from your divine blueprint, the thought that you are as the great God, universal Allah may manifest on earth. That's why they're the master builders. See, that's something. All right, a Mason, they can go in there and take an oath, and they can be European. A European cannot be a true Mason. Cannot be a true master builder, a true Mason, because they cannot build themselves to a higher self. They only know themselves as the beast man. That's the only way they know themselves. And again, this is just from an evolutionary standpoint. That's just from an evolutionary standpoint. And the rules, like I said, nothing is set as one thing, because this universe is multidimensional. Some people may appear to look like they're European here, right? But they have other incarnations as something else. That's not their, it's not their evolutionary. That's what I'm saying, because it's not their evolutionary. It's not their evolutionary origin. It's just their galactic experience. Now I'm talking about the Caucasus. It's impossible for them to be a Mason. That is a lie. So I'm calling a divine court hearing and a transfer for every European that is calling has taken it off as a so-called Freemason. You're not free, number one, and you're not a Mason. Huh?
You calling out all the judges.
Well, they will be summoned to the court of the only judge, the judge of this world. They'll be summoned to that court over this matter. And every secret society that is, calling themselves these, I just call them title of gods. And lords. How are you a lord and you can't even be lord over yourself because you're a beast? That doesn't make any sense. But they intermingle. I'm saying, like, you got Masons and Moorish Science Temple of Americas, and the Moors. There's some Moors that they have took the oath. as a so-called Freemason, and I know they took the oath. They took the oath to stay in secrecy. But see, this is why it's so much destiny swapping, and I mean these MFers is straight up snatching souls in there because they have the sciences to do it. They have the access to the high level jinn. Oh, Sufis also they intermingle with the Moorish Science Temple of America and the one in New Jersey. I can't speak for any other temples how they do, because everyone, it's like Christian churches. Moorish Science temples are just like Christian churches to me, because they all are doing their own little set of different things. No, they're not acting on one accord or whatever. So the Sufis was in there too. So they would have some of the Moors got initiated into Sufism. So they're practicing all these high sciences in the Moorish Science Temple of America. That's why it could be so dangerous there, because you're meeting Lucifer. You're meeting Lucifer there, because most of them, number one, because we talk about reincarnation. We talking about this is judgment time back on earth, end time, age of Aquarius, judgment time. All timelines created in sin and fear have to be collapsed to get to the new earth. We already are in the new earth. This is the age of Aquarius. So that's how it's going to be going. That's how.
Did you just say you meeting Lucifer at the Moorish Temple?
The one that's currently operating, and it's a collective of them that are operating, that they were the ones that betrayed Prophet Noble Drew Ali, but they're still operating in the temple today, in like
so
modern day.
Saying that the Satan has infiltrated the
Oh, absolutely, has infiltrated. Satan has infiltrated the Moorish Science Temple of America, and you can't. I wouldn't be able to recommend it to female vessels, because the males is going to be. I'm saying that's been my experience. Males competing for, no, they're not like that, but they're like, oh, this is a pre-goddess coming up in here, and if I can get in that coochie, I can get some gold. That's how a lot of them is thinking, and it's like, I know it's crazy, and they listen, it's so dangerous because they have the sciences to steal souls. They have the sciences to do it. So, his wife was, I would call her a voodoo high priest. I would call her a voodoo high priest for sure. And they were all like, we were like family up in that, like, that's how close I got with them. That's how close we all, like, it was weird. Like, our birthdays were like around the same time. Like, we were all in conjunct with each other. It was weird. It was really weird.
You mean they were Pisces?
A lot of them were like Pisces, or they had some aspect that was, because the guy that introduced himself as the Magi, he also does everybody's astrology charts. He could do the whole natal charts of somebody and get the whole, their whole galactic, like, manifestation here. Why, like, basically their lower self, the energies that are going to be influencing their lower self. Only because the only way you can meet your higher self is if you master your lower self. That's Islam, I self-law and master. So what I'm saying is, he also had, he first had got my birthday, because I didn't look at them as threats. You see what I'm saying?
So what does that Islam stand for?
I self-law and master. I self-law and master. Mastering lower self. In a particular incarnation. But I didn't see them as a threat, so I gave him my birth date and my time of birth to do my natal chart, right? He gave me the whole rundown. Man, they was using this. I was naive at that time. They was using this junk to do all types of sex rituals, magic. Oh my gosh, it got so crazy. It got so crazy that Boondele, the Mason, and his wife, because one of the other Moors ended up giving me the whole scoop of what was going on behind the scenes.
Oh.
The Moor that I was close with gave me the whole scoop of what was going on behind the scenes. So they started getting haunted. Boondele, the Mason, and his wife had to leave town. They had to move out of town because they started getting haunted. Because they was doing all that weird shit. They was doing weird stuff. Everybody, I'm talking about, he was saying that glasses were like plates and glasses were like flying across their house and stuff. They were getting chased by invisible beings. That's what was that happened there. So they ended up moving. They ended up leaving. And it was like that because that was the that's when I just started to find out about my ancestral protection that I didn't even know about it at that time. My ancestors was straight up hunting them. They was going after them.
Rightfully so.
They chased their asses up out of Jersey.
Talking about if they can get in that coochie, you got gold. What? Listen, now, remember
Don't,
what I'm saying?
because I told you every
compared it-
temple ain't like that. Now,
I
now
compared
still.
that to like all of the churches that I had been.
Like, that's the only common sense. Because just,
If all that's going on, what you just told me, man, how can you trust any of that?
well, again, that's my earthly salvation. You always going to have devils messing stuff up. So, somewhere,
Those are
somehow.
big devils. Those are big
And
devils.
they are big devils. But, you know what? I did find that it was great. It was great training because if you did not learn how to defend protect and defend yourself with these types of individuals, you're going to lose your soul. You are going to lose your soul because you don't even, I'm saying if you're just coming into the sciences, right, then you're not going to even think that people are using it to just steal your whole life. This shit's crazy.
How
Like,
can that be permissible, man, for them to do some shit like that?
well, it's judgment time on earth. Again, the same ones that betrayed great God. I mean, great God through betraying the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. That's the same ones that's being drawn by, what would I call that? Like, that draws you back to that. It
Bloodline was part of that.
that's what they taught. That's what the ancestors told me. The ancestors said he was I think, I don't want to say the name because if I say that name, I want to put that out there. It may not be the one that set the prophet up. That was him. So it was no wonder why he was, now we in present time, right? Because Prophet Noble Drew Ali is just a universal being. I'm a universal being. Every being in the Moorish Science Temple of America is not a universal being. Some of them are there for lower self purposes, just to steal from people, to steal life force energy from people. And I'm aware of that now through having, experienced that. But it's serious because again, I had ancestral protection. And that more told me they had to end up moving states. Their house was haunted, and I would say it was my ancestors